This one was supposed to be easy, but I don't think it's going to be very easy. I want it to go back to the basics. So, just a recap here, too, for those who have not seen the other videos. I work at a nursery, and I'm doing these videos because not only am I new to... Sorry, I have a cold. New to pretty much the whole botany scene here, but I'm also trying to learn as much as I can. And so I'm also recording kind of new stuff I learn every day at work. But I'm also trying to input my knowledge and stuff that I figure out at nursery, because not everything is like... I feel like there's a lot of information that you can only see so much online. I feel like I get a lot of info from like people who've been gardening for like 20 plus years and stuff like that. A lot of gardeners come through that are very well experienced, so it's cool to hear a lot of info from them. And my whole thing was I wanted to kind of share some of this information that's not just like readily accessible, other than spending a lot of time on Reddit. There's tons of forums and stuff too that you do come across, but I don't know. I just thought it would be a fun idea. But anyways, so I've been doing different stuff of like what I've learned that is kind of stuff that you do look for when you are looking for a plant, and hopefully eventually I can get into like for taking care of them and such like that. I do garden, but I'm by no means like a vetted gardener. Maybe like a couple years experience, but not that much. And just of the garden that we have here. And plus the slave labor that my mother induced on me growing up. But regardless, that's empty knows. So today's video was going to be, it's just on like, of what is a plant. Like I figured out like, we talked a lot about it. It doesn't hurt to go to the basics of what a plant is, Ron, that is a big topic. And I've gone down a rabbit hole. It's not as easy as I thought it was going to be to explain of just like what is a plant. There is a definition, but it goes all the way to the top. Okay, let's go. Okay, these are... All right. The one thing I did kind of consistently keep getting was that a plant is regularly described as something that, like photosynthesis, that uses the process of photosynthesis where it's taken in the sunlight and is used as nutrients. If that's what photosynthesis is. I'm pretty sure. Key characteristics of what land plants are: multicellular organisms that can be distinguished from other living things by a number of characteristics. These are the ones. Okay, this was the one that really started confusing me though. So it says the word plant encompasses a wide range of living organisms, all of which belong to the kingdom Plantae, and share a range of characteristics. So again, this is where it does get farther into the rabbit hole. Interesting. And you start kind of going in, because it's not just like, what is plant? It's like, well, it's a little part of something that's a lot bigger than. So go examine characteristics of land plants. Oh, by the way, again, so you can see sciencelearn.org. I think that's New Zealand, perhaps. The website I'm using here. So key characteristics. They make their own food. So, yes, through the process of photosynthesis, contain a green pigment, chlorophyll. I thought that said chloroform, but that does not. Which enables plants to convert energy from the sun into food. Plants store their food as starch. Starch is really heavy. It's heavy food. It's too starchy, Most plants are rooted to one place. Some plants can orientate. Fuck. I'm having troubles pronouncing that one. I know what the word is. I'm not that dumb, I swear to God. Maybe I did say that right. Okay. Orientate. Leaves towards, like, orientation. Orientate. It just sounds weird. Orientate? Okay. Leaves towards the sun and some responds to touch. Plant cell walls are rigid as they are made of cellulose or stringy fibrous, cotton and hemp. Life cycle of plants includes both a phyte generations can rise groups way beyond me. This is just for land plants, non-vascular, vascular, common ancestors. So, yeah, like it's a bigger topic than I think I thought it was going to be. Because they're talking about, they're like, which, makes sense. And it would be like, actually, I can't compare it to what I think it would be like. There's just more options to it. Maybe it would be like if you go to buy a car and then you don't realize that there's different packages for the car as opposed to just like the one vehicle. They're like, well, and aside money, like not talking about how much it would cost, it's more just like they talk to you and they're like, oh, well, there's this package deal. You can get all-wheel drive. You can get four-wheel drive. You can get two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. This is kind of, I'm just saying, is what's happened to me here. Going into plants, and then I'm seeing now it's like, well, there's vascular, there's non-vascular, there's land plants, there's non-land plants. Non-land plants, of course, yes. Seeded or seedless. See, this is what I'm saying. It keeps going. See, so that's vascular. So vascular, seeded or seedless vascular plants. Yeah, I'm sure there's information here, but again, I'm trying to kind of whisk along here because the biggest part is what is a plant? That's what I'm trying to get at here. But maybe later. Sorry, BBC. Bite size. See, this is what I'm talking about here. We got the kid stuff here. Keep it easy. Think of water, nutrients, different parts of a plant. Okay, maybe we went too far down. Maybe we went too young. So I understand that they're saying, like, they're explaining what of like the things that make a plant, like the things that plants do. But I'm again trying to find out like what the definition of like what is a plant. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So where else does one go other than Reddit? r/botany. Trees versus plants. I went here just thinking that like maybe someone would be like, oh, this is the definition here between of what a tree is and what like a plant is, or maybe it would just point me in the right direction. But this first answer by this guy here was every tree is a plant, but not all plants are trees. And yeah. Damn it. Yeah, because what was this guy talking about? Something was going on. Okay, definition of a plant. A young tree, vine, or shrub, or herb planted or suitable for planting. Be any of a kingdom plantae, so that's the second time we've seen that. Of multicellular eukaryotic, mostly photosynthetic organisms typically lacking locomotive movement or obvious nervous or sensory organs, possessing cellulose cell walls. So again, something about like this kingdom plantae, like that's the second time we've read that there, so that seems to be a pretty important part here. So this is where I was saying it started going down the loophole a bit here. This one was just for the definition of a tree. Oh yeah, Okay, another guy said a plant is anything in the kingdom plantae. Third time. A Douglas fir in the Rocky Mountains is a plant. A Saguaro cactus is a plant. The neglected golden pothos in the corner of your office. That's funny. Doesn't really matter where it is. It is designated. It's a designation of classification, as much as an animal is still an animal, whether it's in the zoo or the ocean. Tree doesn't have much of a botanic meaning. Tree and shrub, horticulture or tall. Plant, a woody plant would be called a tree. I guess that's probably the definition of what makes a tree is the actual. Because I do know, so like the cork, Cambius botany, also in ladder, a stem that produces cork phylum on the outer side, phyllenderm on its inner side. I've seen it's a pretty cool process of how trees actually form. So the bark on the outside of the tree is just like a new layer of skin is pretty much made. Whereas the like if you like cut back a plant that's like a woody one, you'll see on the inside it's still live. Like it looks like it's almost dying, but you can see if it's still alive by if you kind of take a snippet of like a little piece that might look like it's dying off, and then if it looks like there is a very live or like still maybe bright on the inside or like still looking like moist and not dried out, it's like still alive. But that's usually what that layer is on the outside that forms kind of like that bark look, is just the skin creating like an extra layer on the outside, protecting the actual real stuff, which is normally on the inside. I think that's even with like a tree, is it's just like a very small piece of wood in the actual center of this. Like, doesn't matter the size of the tree. I think that's why you can see with like the rings tells how old like a tree is. But again, this is, I think talking about trees is like a whole different. But God forbid, I go down this whole loophole again about trees would be, which is crazy, man. Oh yeah, I was gonna search up kingdom. Okay, so don't worry about all this. Let's see. Actually, that was probably a useful one I just closed out of. Plante. No. It's telling me characteristics. What is it? You know what? Never even thought about just going right to Wikipedia. Photosynthetic. The plant kingdom encompassed all living things that were not animals. Also included algae and fungi. Definitions have narrowed since then. Yeah, fungi is definitely a fungi. You know what I mean? A species. 380,000. Grapefruit. You know, it's just like, it's not much of a topic I can really go further down on. Like, that's what I'm saying, where the more I go into it here, because then it was saying, like, I had gotten, like, a kingdom of vertiplantae, which is a major kingdom or clade comprising over 350,000 species, organism, including green algae and land plants. So, like, that one's, like, it goes up. Plants are within that category. Is like, this is one that's in that category of like the kingdom plantae. Green plants, natural group of clade, 500,000. See, like, I'm so, like, we're just looking for the word like plant, and now I don't even know this is in English. Green because they contain blast cells or able to produce food. Some troughs that obtain their energy by photosynthesis. Primary role. Let's see if I can get like a chart. Look at that. You know what? I don't know why I said look at that. I act like I know what this means. But this is no but all. I mean, I'm sure if you know what you're looking at, you probably understand exactly what you're looking at here. And that's what I was just saying, where it just keeps going. Further down here, with different types, like a group of woody plants, gymnosperm, angiosperms are flowering plants. Okay, so look at that. We're getting somewhere. A seed plant. It's called spermatophyte. Plant that produces a seed. Okay. Ferns don't produce seeds, I guess, hey? But they are part of this vascular. And then a land plant. Oh, so then that must be like the Plantae kingdom we were talking about, and then land plants. Land plants, they are complex multicellular life cycles. And that goes into what these guys. Non-vascular. Non-vascular paddocks, mosses, and such. Oh, mosses again. What are liver words, though? Dominant life. Okay, that makes sense, because I guess moss would technically be a plant, too. I always forget that, like, that's... When I think of, again, like, a plant, this is, like, my one thing. Like, when I think of a plant, I think of, like, a flower. But that's just one part of this entire spectrum here of what a plant is, because technically these are all plants. Yeah, but again, so I'm just thinking of angiosperms. Yes. So I think we're like getting closer, like that's making a little bit more sense for what a plant is. I obviously, like, a big part of it seemed like photosynthesis was like the main thing of like how it's getting its nutrients and its food. Are they through the soil, or through its leaves with the photosynthesis, or through the ground and its roots? Seem to be a pretty big piece. And I think that's something that's pretty consistently across the board that we've seen here of like what makes a plant a plant. So, yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. Plant classification. Seed growing plants, non-seed growing plants. Oh yeah, so ferns we were looking at there. Non-flowering plants, flowering plants, needles, fan-shaped leaves. Again, it seems like it's just like a smaller category within a category within a category within a category. Types of plants. Non-vascular. Vascular. Oh. It said it was 4 types, but moss plants in Iceland. That looks fake. Vascular. Pteridophytes. Is that like a fern? Yeah, true ferns. Gymnosperm. And that's the flowering one. Yep. It all makes sense now. All our problems are solved. You're welcome. I must have answered so many questions. I've answered plenty for myself. I definitely don't have any more questions than I had before. So, yeah. Thanks for joining me. I think I'm going to pick a less challenging topic next time, though. Maybe with one that has just one answer. one easy answer to it. Yep. Farewell.